playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Thomas, like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I'm not saying this thing is scripted, but damn it, they put those two teams on the first weekend of the basketball season for a reason, because they were expecting some kind of fireworks. They got it. Did Angel Reese overreact? Probably. Did Caitlin Clark have to stare it down? Probably not. There's enough blame to go both sides. But guess who doesn't care? That's the WNBA.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Great to have you here on a Thursday night. It's Game Time Decisions. We are live on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you for the next 90 minutes. We have a great slate of hoops tonight. The Western Conference Finals, Game 2, OKC with the 1-0 series lead. Look to protect home court and take a commanding 2-0 advantage. Minus 750 OKC to win this series. That, of course, our main event. This comes on the heels of the best game so far in this postseason. Knicks, Pacers. Everybody's in on the NBA. Everybody's loving the playoff basketball. And how could you not be? That game was spectacular. We'll talk about it, the shift, the movement, and what it all means. When I say it's a great hoop slate, though, I do mean plural. The WNBA steps up tonight with a two-pack of intrigue. The Dream host the Fever. Atlanta just went to Indiana, pulled off a 1-point upset there, as around an 8 or so point underdog, booked as a 4.5-point home dog here, as the Fever try and grab one back with Caitlin Clark off to a really strong start to her sophomore season. And a start that has only shortened her number to win league MVP. We do have the Liberty, the defending champs, on the road for the first time against the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese. Big number continuing to move up to 12 in some spots there. What will we see in that game? I got a lot of different angles, played some parlays for the people in the W, so we will attack there. But let's start it off with OKC and Minnesota. And when you do what we do here, you can't run from it, but I wouldn't if I could. As bad as it gets, my performance in that game, much worse than Anthony Edwards. Ant to score 20 in each game in this series, 18. SGA to make a 3 in each game in this series, nope, 0 for 4. I mean, listen, I can't make the shots. They did take the shots. But all in all, neither guy stepped up in the way that I wanted them to. And the SGA, far less harmful for his group. He still managed to find a way to score 31 points, pairing in 5 boards and 9 assists, than Anthony Edwards, whose efficiency wasn't really that much of a negative. It was the lack of anything from Anthony Edwards that left that game to feel a little bit more concerning. Ant's fourth quarter effort was non-existent. He didn't score. He took one shot, maybe a second. It was a bunch of nothing. That is so flatly unacceptable from a guy who wants to be positioned as the best player in the world. He's not that. He's far from it, in fact. It's a hard mountain to climb. But you have to at least take the chance to climb it. I don't think Anthony Edwards did that in the fourth quarter. Not at all. How does he respond here in tonight's game? Does he get over his points prop, checking in around the same number that we saw in game one at 25.5? Perhaps so. But it's not Anthony Edwards who catches my attention. Because ultimately, Anthony Edwards, back in the conference finals, has done a great deal for himself during this postseason. And the same, of course, is true of Ant's number 2 and Julius Randle, who was red hot in the early goings of that game. Similar to Ant, didn't do much in the second half of that basketball game, certainly the fourth quarter. But his 28 and 8 covered him in glory. Rudy Gobert, on the other hand, I got questions. I need answers. Rudy Gobert struggling in the playoffs, okay, we've seen it. You know, to some degree being played off of the court, okay. What we're seeing from Rudy Gobert in these playoffs, we've not seen before. His efficiency is dropping considerably. His rebounding is dropping. And the scoring is the worst we've seen. And the minutes have seen him go from the clear third guy on this team to closer. Well, by the way, paid like to be the second most important player on the team to just a part of the rotation. Rudy Gobert grabbed had a double-double in 50% of his regular season games this year. Rudy Gobert was, through the first 20 games of his Minnesota playoff career, which is year 1 and year 2, so before this season, he was at about the same double-double clip. He has 1 double-double in 11 games so far in these playoffs. Incredibly. Shout out to Lakers, not playing Jackson Hayes. That 1 double-double, 27 points, 24 rebounds. You've got to be kidding me. But that is it. And Rudy Gobert now comes off of his arguably least impactful game of these playoffs. 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 of 3 shooting, 21 minutes, nothing. Some early foul trouble, didn't close, nowhere near enough. And the books have responded, posting a 14.5 points plus rebound prop on Rudy Gobert. I have no choice but to play it over. Rudy had 15 or more points plus rebounds in 62 of 72 regular season games. What about the playoffs? First 3 games against the Lakers, no dice. Closed, though, with 15 plus in each of the final 2 games against LA. And then alternated hitting this number in the series against the Warriors. So here we are in this spot now, looking for Rudy Gobert to potentially continue that trend of every other game. Means he's due. So I'm going to trust Rudy Gobert in this spot. Big picture for OKC. I'm fascinated to see if at any moment does this team let up with their defensive intensity. Because Oklahoma City and their defensive intensity carried them through the series against Denver and set the tone in this series against Minnesota. And their depth suggests that they, at no point, should take their foot off the gas. Cason Wallace playing 30-plus minutes, getting 20-plus minutes out of Caruso. SGA played 38. You got 33 out of J-Dub. The rest of the starters, all under 30 minutes. Hartenstein only at 20. If anybody needs a break, they can get a break. They're going to get a break anyway because Mark Daigneault wants to lean on the depth in a way usually it's difficult to do in the playoffs. You do occasionally get to the spot where you're like, okay, how many guys can I actually trust here? And I'm going to have to keep going back to these guys again and again and again. Well, Daigneault, he trusts that starting 5. He needs Caruso and Cason Wallace, but he keeps pointing towards Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. Heck, we had early Kenrich Williams minutes in Tuesday's game, rather. Makes the markets a little bit trickier when you're trying to back those OKC props and figure out who is going to step up for them on a consistent basis. Perhaps the answer is the obvious one with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring 31 points in a game, number one, where he was 10 of 27 from the field. There aren't a ton of sub-40% games for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the resume in the regular season. Been a bit of a common occurrence here, actually, so far in the postseason. But if he bounces back efficiency-wise, SGA scoring 40, which he has not done yet these playoffs, could be in line. And you got to imagine we get at some point before Shai, the league's MVP, sees his season come to a close. By the way, just to throw it out there, when we talk about best player in the world, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be handed his MVP award tonight in front of that crowd, I imagine. Shai is favored to win MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP, and eliminated Jokic in the process. You sure he's not the best player in the world?
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, back at the right here. We are on SportsGrid, and it is Game Time Decisions. We've set you up for the main event, which is tonight's game between OKC and Minnesota. But if you're betting basketball tonight, and you should not just be betting OKC, Minnesota, you should be getting involved with the WNBA early season. This league has been incredibly fun, and if you can pick the right spots, incredibly profitable. And I'm hoping that stays the same. Now, we can talk some of the spots tonight, but there's a couple that I am keying, if you will. Everything is tied to everything, and there's almost a level here. I thought A lot of people probably tonight have odds boosts that they could use on the WNBA. Sometimes you have to meet a certain barometer. Other times you don't. But I will throw to you 3 different options that I did play myself tonight. And then I'll explain kind of the angle on each. So the first level. And these are all the odds once you do place the boost on it. At plus 140, Brittany Griner for 6 rebounds. Brittany Griner for 10 points. Ryan Howard for 10 points. Courtney Vandersloot to record 4 assists. And Sabrina Ionescu to record 4 assists. That, again, these parlays will all span both games on our slate tonight with the Dreams a 4.5-point home underdog to Indiana and the Sky as a 12-point home dog to the Liberty. We go up a level, plus 453. Brittany Griner for 6 rebounds. Once again, Griner for 15 points. Vandersloot for 6 points. Vandersloot for 6 assists. And Sabrina Ionescu for 2+ made threes. Sabrina Ionescu coming off of a very, very long streak of at least 1 made 3 in all of her regular season games. That spanned back to the early beginnings 2 seasons ago. Snapped. I think you'll see her step up in that spot. Lastly, it's the one with the least legs, yet the best payout. Real simple. Brittany Griner for 8 rebounds. Courtney Vandersloot for 8 assists. Plus 754. Griner and Vandersloot very clearly the keys for me tonight. So I'll say quickly, Ryan Howard's 10+ points should be no problem. She should really, at home, find some efficiency, first home game, and get into that 20 range. Ryan Howard could very well be a 20-point-per-game scorer this season. A lot of her volume, though, is from beyond the arc. I'm still fascinated to see if that holds true. Sabrina Ionescu is looking for a bounce back. It was a rough opening game for her against Vegas. Natasha Cloud stepped up brilliantly, but I think you'll see Sab likely get right back on track, whether that's with the assists or whether that is with the made threes. I think she makes sense, certainly at different levels. You could find her to make 3 made threes, I think between minus 105, minus 115 in some areas, so do look around. I think those are largely safe. But the keys in this spot tonight for me very clearly rest with the performances of Courtney Vandersloot and Brittany Griner. So we begin with BG. As the Atlanta Dreamer going up against the Indiana Fever for the second game in a row, I feel coming off of the first game, it is fair to say there's not much of an answer for the Dreams double big situation with Griner and Brianna Jones. Aaliyah Boston is tasked with guarding Brianna Jones, and that then puts Natasha Howard at a really big deficit height-wise to Brittany Griner. So the points should be there, but so should the rebounds. BG's been one of the best rebounders in her career throughout the WNBA. She grabbed 7 in game number 1, just 28 minutes. She grabbed 8 in game number 2, fantastic. And I look at the one preseason game where she actually played more than 2 minutes. In 19 minutes, 10 rebounds. BG to get a double-double tonight is better than 3-1. I think that is totally on the board, and it gives you an idea if you want to just play Brittany Griner for 24.5 over points plus rebounds, works just fine for me. Courtney Vandersloot is going to be tasked with being the lead guard for this Chicago Sky team, at least the orchestrator for this Chicago Sky team. We saw it in game number 1 against Indiana. While it didn't work out to incredible efficiency, 4 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, 29 minutes and 9 field goal attempts suggests the scoring will be there for Courtney Vandersloot. So 10+ points tonight, if you're so inclined, absolutely could check out. 14.5 is her points plus assist number, and that very well is in play. But it's the assist number specifically that I'll be keying throughout the night. And I think at some point we're going to see Vandersloot get that double-double. A 19-1 earlier today, down to 12-1 in the market. It's eventually going to come in. 5 assists in game number 1. But look through the preseason action. Limited sample size, no doubt about it. One of the games against Brazil, I understand. But 16 minutes, went out there for 5 assists. 20 minutes, went out there for 5 assists. She still finished the game with 5 assists against the Fever, despite the fact that her team shot 29% from the floor, 6 of 27 from 3. So before anybody says that's what's going to happen with Angel Reese trying to finish some of those assists, the 3-point shots weren't falling. And that involves then better efforts from someone like Kia Nurse, who was in the starting lineup, going 0 for 6. So I think you're going to see a spot here tonight where, despite the uptick in competition playing the New York Liberty, the Sky at home could get the best out of their starting guard, which is, of course, Courtney Vandersloot. Speaking of Courtney Vandersloot, by the way, When we take a look right now at the starts of the season for Caitlin Clark, one thing that feels very clear to me through just those 2 games, Clark averaging double-digit assists is on the board. If you look through NBA history, there's only been one season that where a player averaged more than 8 assists per game that was not Courtney Vandersloot or Caitlin Clark in her rookie year. Shout out to, oh no, it was just those 2, excuse me. Everything else is Courtney Vandersloot. She's the peak of this whole thing when it comes to, an assist per game. She owns that crown. And she did have one season where if you round up, it was 10 assists per game, but I think it was 9.95. But you could very well see the record set this year for assists per game. Something like that is very important to follow because it could very well be the decider in Caitlin Clark winning league MVP. Something that we may never get a fair number on, but we have to be smart about if we want to actually fade. This number already down to minus money. Despite Nafisha Collier and the Lynx looking incredible and Collier looking incredible and a 3-0 start, it's Clark at minus 110. We'll see what she brings to the table here on a Thursday night. We'll be right back with you on Game Time Decisions.
Tigers 31-17, Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 26-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where 2 of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division, to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here. We are on SportsGrid tonight. I talked a lot about the hoop slate. There is some Major League Baseball already off and running. We've played a ton of games already today. Detroit-Cleveland with Flaherty and Tanner Bibe. I do think it's a bounce-back spot for Tanny Beebe, so we'll see if that's what he's able to provide here as the Tigers look to improve on their league's best record at 33-17. Dominant so far at Comerica Park. Currently sitting at 17-5. I had to check that was still the name, quite frankly. 3-0 early for Milwaukee, up on Pittsburgh. The Pirates are a full-on disaster this season. Their record, the inverse of where Detroit sits right now. Early 2-0 lead for Atlanta. Trevor Williams is a bad pitcher, specifically terrible against lefties, so Matt Olson makes him pay first. Marcell Ozuna not far behind, though, checking in with a home run of his own. One big thing we've not hit just yet on tonight's slate, that would be the action over there for anyone who's going to get involved in the NHL playoffs, because we do have a very similar set of lines for Canes Panthers, specifically on the total, which I'm a little bit surprised by. Maybe I shouldn't be. But I saw game number one, minus 130 towards that under at one point. Right now, we're seeing here a minus 122. But that game flew over the opener. Now, it flew over due to Florida's victory, scoring 5 goals in the game. Is the belief to be, and maybe it is, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the strongest suit of my life is betting in the NHL, but is Carolina's only path to winning this 3-1? 3-2? Like, they can't possibly score 4 or 5 goals against Bobrovsky? That's one end of it. But the other end of it also is, what if Florida just continues to score? Many people clearly believe the Panthers are the better team. We'll talk to Joe Madden, I believe, a little bit later on in our show tonight. And we'll get her thoughts on everything that surrounds this matchup here. So I look at this. I expect more goals. I really do. I think if you want to, take me home Thursday, you want to get in the mix and perhaps play it where you have a situation of that 3.5 number, find some other items to latch on. If you like anyone for a hit-and-run RBI late, and Edwards 20+, if there's some movement that you could find, perhaps some of the W action that we've talked about, I think that works for me. So far, or the one other thing I wanted to mention, though, you do see Carolina booked as a little bit of a bigger favorite in Game 2 off of the loss. That the case right now for the booking when it comes to Game 2 for Knicks Pacers. We've seen this throughout the playoffs this year. There is a real tax that you have to pay when a team needs a game. And the Knicks very, very obviously now need this next game. If they go down to the Pacers 2-0, even your biggest believer will struggle to keep that optimism heading into the game. It's rightfully so. Who could blame him? I would not tell you the series is over, because I feel to some degree these are just two weird teams, and maybe they are going to just keep, playing weird series against one another, right? I think it was Knicks last year grabbed a 6th game in Indiana that forced that 7th game back in New York, and then what do you know? The Pacers win that 7th game at Madison Square Garden. I don't think it is a mistake. I don't think it's an overreaction to push the Pacers to the minus 158 favorites that they have, because if the Pacers win one of the next 2 games, what is that price going to look like? It's going to be, around what you're seeing here, if not a little bit stronger. And it's going to be difficult for the Knicks to win the next 2 games, because there's a lot of pressure and a lot of oomph that's going to have to come in order to get this one in the door, get this one on the card. And then you have to keep going, and you have to keep going. And here's, I think, what will sound like a huge, overreaction, but it's not. But losing that first game for the Knicks is a really big blow even to the title chances, because now you're going to have to push it all the way against this Pacers team just to make it where you're likely going to be playing OKC without home court advantage, and you are continuously flashing, which is incredible. But Madison Square Garden right now for the Knicks, not that big a home court advantage. They got to be better at the Garden. Take a quick break. Talk some NHL with you next here on SportsGrid.
The Tigers, 31-17, Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 26-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where two of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division, to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh, it is Game Time Decisions. Panthers Hurricanes, a lot of expectations for this one tonight. A lot of pressure on Carolina. To help us break it down, it is, of course, Joe Madden. Joe, always good to see you right here on Game Time Decisions. Let's jump right into it. Do you think Carolina can salvage this home ice advantage? They've already lost it. Doesn't feel like they can afford to lose again. What do you expect here between Carolina and Florida?
No, we look at the Florida Panthers, and they're only 3 wins away from making it back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and it does feel like they're pretty quick at closing this out here versus the Carolina Hurricanes. You look at Game 1, and Carolina had all of that rest, and you always have those question marks around rest or rust. They did come out rusty in that game. We know this is a team that can really play at home, but you look at their path, Kevin, to get here, going through the New Jersey Devils and the Washington Capitals, and no disrespect to those teams, but they weren't playing with teams at the same level as the Florida Panthers. And we saw in Game 1, even though I was rolling with Carolina, thinking Florida would win this series in 6, with Carolina not winning Game 1, I really question if they're going to be able to get things done tonight. Sergei Bobrovsky has been absolutely phenomenal between the pipes, and I do think it's going to be very hard for them to be able to get those goals on him tonight. Their best chance of winning this isn't a 2-1 style of game. They have a team total of 2.5 today. I think it's a really solid look looking at the under 2.5. The under 2.5 coming in at plus money at plus 124. Win or lose, I can see Carolina only getting those 2 goals. It could be a 2-1 win for them, or we see the Florida Panthers do what they did in that last game and continue to rack up those goals, winning it in a 4-2, 5-2 kind of situation.
Yeah, the way Florida was able to attack early on in that game certainly set the tone for it. Do you feel, Joe, almost regardless if Carolina is able to get the job done here tonight, that the Panthers getting back to the Stanley Cup final is inevitable?
Oh, absolutely. Going into this series, and even before this series kicked off, I was looking for Florida to make their way all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think this is just a little bit of a speed bump that they have to get past here with the Carolina Hurricanes, and I don't see it going more than 5 now even. I think we get the gentleman's sweep. Originally, I had the 6. I could see the sweep even coming into play. So I think it's worth putting a little bit of money on the Florida Panthers to finish this in 4, and in 5. I'd already have that in 6 because I thought Carolina at home would be able to stand up. But this team, even though they were getting those shots on goal in that last game, Kevin, they weren't able to hit Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky over those last 5 games has a 1.20 goals against average and a 948 save percentage. He's been absolute fire. And we look at that last game, Carolina had 33 shots on goal. We also saw those block shots coming for the Florida Panthers. They blocked 21 more shots on Bobrovsky. So the defense is really stepping up as well.
Yeah, let's take a look then, Joe, in the props market here. Does anyone jump off the page to you potentially providing some value, whether it be a Brad Marchand, potentially Sebastian Aho steps up for Carolina when they need it most? Any of those props catching your eye?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at the Carolina Hurricanes tonight, you have to look at those shots on goal because Carolina in that last game did put up 33 shots on net and Florida blocked 21. So you look at those attempts, there was over 50 attempts out there for this team. You look at Chesnikov in the last game, he was really held down. He only had 1 shot on goal. You could look at him for the 3+ shots on goal. It's coming in at -120 tonight, but I don't think that's where it holds the value. I think you've got to look further down the list. Now, you mentioned Sebastian Aho, and I love what he brought to the table in the last game. He had 6 shots on goal in that last game. Tonight, you can get him for 3+ shots on goal at +104. With that last change, Sebastian Aho should be able to get there. But if we go all the way down to Blake in the last game was able to get us a goal. He had 2 shots on goal in that last game, 3+ shots on goal for him. Big plus money at +250. We look at him versus Washington and versus the New Jersey Devils. In both of those games, he was able to surpass or hit the 3+ shots on goal. So I will take a shot on him. And then when we move over to the Florida Panthers, it's got to be, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, and Barkov. You look at Barkov in his career versus the Carolina Hurricanes, 15 goals, 22 assists in 39 games. Barkov for the point tonight is pretty juicy, but when you add it with Sam Reinhart, who was held off the board in the last game, I do think it holds value at +100, both of them for a point. And then Sam Bennett tonight coming out here at +106 for his point. He had a goal in the last game and 5 shots on goal, so I will be circling him as well.
Joe, taking a look at Edmonton and Dallas, I thought it was, again, it's one game, and Edmonton didn't have home ice, but for Dallas to just the barrage that was that third period, right? I mean, 5 goals. I understand one of them was with an empty net, but it was just, it was interesting. It almost felt like a warning shot to Edmonton of like, how you beat Vegas, you better do that again because we're so prepared to play your open ice, first to 11 wins type of game. What did you take away from Dallas-Edmonton game 1?
Well, firstly, it was an incredible game. You saw Edmonton open up that scoring and then Dallas tie it up in that first period. Edmonton then roll into that third period with that 3-1 lead. And then the Dallas Stars showed what we knew. The Dallas Stars are so deadly on the power play. The power play has had some issues for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's something that has been stronger in that last game, but still the kill wasn't good enough there. They allowed those 3 quick goals by the Dallas Stars, and Dallas just coming out so strong. I think this is a game or a series in total where you're going to see a lot of goals coming in. I do think the next game will tighten up a little bit defensively. You have both strong defenses, but you've got to look at goaltending, and that's the biggest question mark always for Skinner. You're having Skinner rolling in to this series here off back-to-back shutouts, but now the storyline is Skinner doesn't look like an NHL goaltender after what we saw in that third period. It was a complete breakdown, not only of Skinner in the third period, but all of the Edmonton Oilers. Their defense and their offense, never out of it for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You got a minute on the clock. You never give up hope for this team, but last night you could tell it was completely over with 2 minutes left on that clock. So the Edmonton Oilers need to play a full 60 minutes out there on the ice. I actually really like their possibilities of winning when they're trailing going into that second period or into that third period because the team just turns things up a notch. But you look at the depth of both of these teams this series, I do still think goes to 6. I expect Edmonton to answer back in the next one, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that they should. Again, I think the nice thing for Edmonton, though, again, right, Joe, is that it doesn't. There's less pressure, right, than the Carolina situation. Like if you're the Canes, you already know that you don't have. Florida has the pedigree. They're the defending champions. They've taken home ice from you now. If you don't get this next game, you're down 2-0, right? For the Oilers, at least, no matter what happens, we're going back to Edmonton. They were down 2-0, right, Joe? In the first round to the Kings.
Yeah, they're always in the situation, Kevin. This is an Edmonton team that is used to that adversity, and I think they actually play stronger when they take a loss in that first game. So I'm expecting a huge answer back out of this team. You look at the depth of both of these teams, and you have elite talent on both sides. For Edmonton, this will really come down to, can that defense be the defense that they absolutely need? The defense that, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl will keep defending, it needs to step up.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun series to watch. It has certainly been a fun NHL playoffs so far, and it starts in less than an hour now. Well, I don't know, depending on when they drop the puck. I don't know if they get right to it. The NBA usually makes you wait about 15 extra minutes. Joe, appreciate it as always. We'll talk some hoops next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions with you right here on a Thursday night. Our guy Raheem Palmer steps up, and then you can find his stuff over, of course, at The Ringer. A lot of different spots. There's a lot of different things. Raheem, it's always good to talk some basketball with you, and we've got a lot of good basketball to talk about. I want to actually start with yesterday's game at Madison Square Garden, where the Indiana Pacers did the improbable for the third time in these playoffs. It is so surprising to see this play out the way that it has. What do you make right now with Indy taking that first game of the Eastern Conference Finals?
Well, I was absolutely all over Indy yesterday with the plus 4.5. And, midway through the fourth quarter, I'm tweeting it's over because, Jalen Brunson gets his fifth foul. And then suddenly the Knicks go on a 17-6 run. And it's like, all right, they're up 17. They're up 14 with 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go. And then Aaron Nesmith just starts making everything. So it's just like, it's very tough to know what to take from it because normally, under normal circumstances, a year before this year, you would just say, all right, this is unsustainable. A team can't continue to win like this. And yet they keep doing it. And if you go back to the regular season, even if you go back before the postseason, let's take that game against the Milwaukee Bucks where Tyrese Halliburton hits a 4-point play. How about the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves where Obi Toppin hits the game-winning 3? Like, it's just they pull out improbable victories after improbable victories. And I think a large part of it is the fact that they play at such a breakneck pace. I mean, he played at 106 possessions yesterday. And, typically throughout the course of my life, when you're watching the NBA playoffs, the pace tends to slow down. Well, the Pacers aren't slowing down at all. And I think that's leading teams to wear down. And, not only are they playing at this breakneck pace, they only had 7 turnovers yesterday. And Tyrese Halliburton, he has the ball in his hand the whole time. He only had 2 turnovers. So they're playing at this breakneck pace. They're not turning the ball over. And I just think they're wearing teams down.
So it is why, sorry, Knicks fans, I would love to see Pacers Thunder because that OKC defense is historic. And the Pacers, it might not be the best offense we've ever seen, but it feels like the safest offense. It's the most consistent offense. It feels like it's impossible to keep them under 110 points. There was one of the games against Cleveland, I think it was the game 2, they scored 15 in the first quarter and won that game in regulation with 120 points. I know Mobley didn't play, but their ability to they just never stop. And it's been so impressive. I want to ask you this about game 2 in that series, Raheem, because you're someone who you do the models and you have to try and throw as many things in. It feels like the books this year are really factoring in when a team needs it, because the Pacers won the first game and the 4.5s are all 6 or 6.5. It's not like they said they upped the power rating of the Knicks. It's just they expect everybody's going to be betting New York. How do you factor that in?
I think that's the market. I mean, because they actually opened up at 4.5 and then, this line got to 6. So it's the market. It's the sharp syndicates. It's the sharp bettors who just, looking historically, this is a 60% spot. I mean, this is a spot where, historically, it's pretty much free money. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, at what point in time has this number gone too far? I mean, it's not just the zigzag theory. You go top 3 seeds who lose game 1 in the NBA postseason at home, they're hitting 60%, lifetime. So, my guy Cleve TA pulled something interesting. And he said this is a tiny sample size. He put this on Twitter, Cleve TA. He said, in the last 20 years, there's been 5 times where a favorite had lost game 1 in overtime and is favored in game 2 like the Knicks. Only one outright, and none of the 5 covered, including Boston last round to the Knicks. So this could be a spot where maybe there's some value on the Pacers.
Well, that's the incredible thing, Raheem, is my thought coming into the series was Knicks in 7. I don't feel good about the Knicks in game 2. I think because the Pacers can find it in so many different ways. Obviously, Aaron Nesmith will, I think it's a safe bet, never go 8 for 9 from 3 in his career again. But 78 points from Brunson and Cat on pretty efficient shooting also probably doesn't happen again. So, the Pacers offense is a safer bet when we talk about next game, and that could very well be the difference maker.
So I think there's 2 key factors that, we kind of have to look out for. You look at the Knicks. They had a 41% offensive rebound rate. That's in the 96th percentile of all NBA games this season. I think that's very sustainable. They also had a 30% free throw rate. They're getting to the line. So if they do those two things, that is key. But I think the one thing that's, very scary for the Knicks is they don't force turnovers at all. I mean, just 7 turnovers the other day. We talked about that earlier. So, I think you're right to say that the Pacers offense is the safest thing in this series. And I don't think the Knicks have a particularly good defense, being that they don't force turnovers. So I think this kind of lends itself to an over.
And let me tell you this. If you don't force turnovers, good luck against Halliburton, because he already just doesn't turn it over. So if you're not going to make it tricky on him, then this is going to be really comfortable. And, man, the comfort's increasing so far in these playoffs. Last year we had games against the Knicks. He'd go for 30. He'd go for 6, right? Mm-hmm. And if he just eliminates those single-digit games, all the other stuff is so good. It's so impactful, and it gives this Pacers team such a high floor. Raheem, I'm going to ask you to stick around so we can talk a little bit about game number 2 tonight in Minnesota, OKC, a huge game that I think a lot of people entering the series were saying Minnesota should grab one of the first 2, but now we're here. Now we've watched one game. Is that how this plays out? Or do we see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the league's MVP? Do we see this defensive group put it on Minnesota for the second consecutive game? We'll ask Raheem after a quick break. We're live on SportsGrid right here on a Thursday night. It's Game Time Decisions.
The Tigers, 31-17, Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 20-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where 2 of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division, to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Thunder Timberwolves game number 2, Western Conference Finals. We're seeing 8.5 now on OKC. Total starting to climb a little bit too. Some 217.5 now in a spot or two. Raheem, what are you thinking heading into this second game of the Western Conference Finals?
So I grabbed the over 214.5. I think I did that just on principle, just off the fact that, Minnesota was 15 of 51 from behind the arc in game one. I projected they should be able to shoot a little bit better. I think they should be a little bit more aggressive. So I think this total should, it should be a closer game. But like the biggest thing about Minnesota is that they turn the ball over a ton. Even against the Golden State Warriors, they average like 18 turnovers a game. And if you turn the ball over against a team like Oklahoma City, they're going to get out and run, get in transition, be able to score a lot easier. And I think that's the thing that's tough for Minnesota. But I think they got to figure out what to do with Rudy Gobert, because I think they're trying to match going small with Oklahoma City. And I think that's playing right into Oklahoma City's hands. And, you watch that first game, they're taking all of these threes, and they only shot 12 shots at the rim in game one. I mean, they got to do better than that. I know Oklahoma City is, a dominant defense, but you can't – I don't know how many games you're going to win just shooting 12 shots at the rim and shooting 51 threes unless you're just shooting lights out. So I think they need to correct that. But I think ultimately Oklahoma City should be able to win this series. And, I was like – my model was like really high on Oklahoma City. It actually gave them an 88% chance of winning this series before game one, minus 775, where the market was like at minus 350. And now I'm at like 93%. I'm talking like almost 1,400, minus 1,400, while the market is like minus 750. So I'm higher on the market than OKC. And I think there's a reason why that line climbed from minus 7.5 to minus 8.5.
Yeah, and I think one of the really tough things about beating this team right now, Raheem, is there was a little bit of a notion of if you get them into a close game, they might not be confident in closing. They won 2 consecutive close games to swing that series against Denver, games 4 and game 5. So learning how to close on the fly, doing it against the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Now, even if you get them into a close game, it's tough. This is the way that they just jump on people. I mean, 70-40, they won the second half. When you slice it like that, you're like, all right, that's just something completely different. You mentioned Rudy Gobert. I'm backing him tonight because it's, not, apples for apples, but it's kind of a principle thing. It's 15 points plus rebounds. If Chris Finch is going to bench him, so be it. I think Finch should actually stick with the size a little bit here against OKC. And if OKC wants to go small, then just throw lobs to Gobert, with some effectiveness here. Is there a specific change you want to see out of Minnesota?
I agree with you there. I think at some point in time, you kind of have to just stick with your identity. And I think Minnesota's identity is playing big. And if you're not going to win playing big, you're not going to – you're basically just hoping for them to just make a ton of threes. And I don't know if that's the answer. I truly don't. I mean, Oklahoma City, their strategy all year has been, letting teams shoot and having those late closeouts. But I agree with you. I think they need to stay big, and they have to find a way for Rudy Gobert to stay on the floor. I think that's their chance in this series.
Couldn't agree more. Hope it plays out. I cannot believe he had 27 and 24 against the Lakers. That's such a crazy thing. Raheem, appreciate it as always, man. Best of luck with the action tonight.
No doubt. You have a good one.
All right, great stuff as always from Raheem Palmer. Really good to kind of get an idea. And you hear about the strength that he has for OKC in his numbers. It kind of gives you an idea where, because a lot of those numbers look real strong sometimes in the market. But when you look at the measurements, if you will, on this basketball team and the season that they've had with the point differential, the 68 wins, some of the dominant wins that they've had in this postseason. And again, that is the difficult thing about OKC, if you want to go against them, is there were a few instances against Denver and against Memphis where they were victorious and they did not cover. But man, when they put it on, they absolutely run away. And they are they feel like the number 1 overall pick for the Alt-Line Hall of Fame, at least, in recent NBA history, right? It's very Detroit Lions from last year. And, the, I guess, nice thing for OKC is they didn't, run into the Washington Commanders. Instead, who was that even supposed to be? I don't know. I'll work on that comparison as we come back after this quick break with you right here on SportsGrid.
The Tigers, 31-17, Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 26-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where two of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division, to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Live here on a Thursday night, it is Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you as we are about to begin that WNBA slate with the Fever and the Dream. We'll just run through it very quickly, what those parlays look like. If you are interested, there's a ton of odds boosts out there. If you want to, play some WNBA tonight, there's a plus 140 option. Griner, Ryan Howard, Courtney Vandersloot, Sabrina Ionescu factoring in. We go plus 453. That's with the boost, of course. 6 bounds, 15 points, 6.6 assists, couple of threes. And then a more simpler option, yet a more bigger payout, plus 754. 8 rebounds for Griner, 8 assists for Courtney Vandersloot. If you want to get involved with the WNBA tonight, which I'm sure will be a part of the coverage that you can catch on In-Game Live. Adam Coughlin will be leading that charge tonight. He joins us here now on SportsGrid. Adam, it's always good to get a chance to talk to you here, especially before a really big NBA game, which we have in OKC, Minnesota. Have you locked in any action before game number 2?
So I think there are a couple of things that you need to think very strongly about. One is the pseudo-obvious casual who isn't going to bet this play, which is the over on Anthony Edwards' points, especially with the way that he was talking post-game after that collapse. Well, I don't know, collapse is unfair, but obviously they were leading much of that game. The Timberwolves fall apart late, and Edwards, and cursing in the process at the podium, talking about how he only took 13 bleeping shots, right? He was not nearly aggressive enough, and it was one of the things I was on, during that game with Dane Martinez, and we're sweating the thing out, and we're dissecting it live, and the thing that just kept jumping out, and I think this was very true of the Timberwolves against the Warriors, except against that team, it didn't really matter, and now against this one, it's followed them at least into game 1. You need more than just Ant and Julius Randle. You're going to need some Naz Reid. You're going to need some Dante DiVincenzo. You might need the occasional output, as rare as it is, from Rudy Gobert. But generally speaking, Anthony Edwards, he's going to have to really take charge of a couple of these games if they realistically are going to steal something, which takes me, I guess, into the other play, which is, I don't know, in a way, I feel like I'm going against the grain, Kev, but in the other way, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills if I don't do this, and that is, much as I did with game 1, betting the Thunder to cover. I'm laying the points, and I know the money has come the other way. People are back in Minnesota expecting at the very least a close game after what was a very, very close game in game 1 until the end. I don't know. I don't really buy it. I think the Thunder are going to get a better performance out of SGA, who, as I know, great second half, but he was largely terrible in the first half. He's not starting 2 for 13 again. The supporting cast is going to continue to produce. It's a hostile environment there in OKC, and I just think Minnesota is a very inferior team.
I think that Minnesota, it's so fascinating because entering the series, I thought through the first 2 rounds, the Julius Randle performances that they had were, while albeit amazing, unsustainable. Randall's out there, giving his best Aaron Nesmith impression to start that whole thing. And eventually, he drops off and Ant drops off. 2 guys that I would not think at any moment Chris Finch would have to say, hey, shoot. Both of them were like, we're good. Like, this whole thing, it was just a very, very odd close to that game. I think it makes a lot of sense for Ant to step up. I'll say this. I'm not on it. Basically, what you're saying about Game 2, I didn't think was going to need to be said to him because I was betting his over in Game number 1. And that's the thing with Anthony Edwards. Look, we all know he's a superstar, but Ant still has a ways to go to actually be at the ceiling many, many people believe he will eventually get. Eventually, maybe. But this is not someone who's in contention for best player in the world.
No, I mean, listen, for years now, multiple years, and I don't blame him, not that he is not fueled the fire a little bit, but he hasn't started the conversation, to his credit. And obviously there's ego there, but there's ego in any great player, any superstar player in the league. Some more obvious than others, but they've all got it. They're not all Tim Duncan quiet superstar types, obviously, but the Michael Jordan comparisons, give me a break. I mean, we're really going to compare him to arguably, and in my mind there's no question, but for the sake of the viewer, the listener, arguably the greatest player in NBA history compared to a dude that's never won anything in his entire professional life. Granted, he's young. He can still achieve some stuff, but he's not getting to 6 titles. He's not going to be, multiple-time MVP, I don't think. He's not going to be routinely leading the NBA in scoring, and he can't continue to have as many of these first half no-show, come on late in game performances in the playoffs. It's all well and good that Minnesota is at this level in the Final Four back-to-back years, but you know what? Last year couldn't get through Dallas, and this year, I think they're getting smoked by OKC. I said Thunder in 5 coming into the series, which would tell you that's not a very competitive series. Even no matter how competitive the games are, if in fact they are game to game, a gentleman sweep's a gentleman sweep, man. Like, you want to be in that conversation, you want to be worthy of all of that praise, you better get through a 68-win Thunder team and get yourself to the NBA Finals, because at a certain point in time, we see it now more than ever in today's league, teams don't stay together. Cores are, transforming year after year on the fly, either restructures right down to, rebuilds. So I don't think this Minnesota team has this great big open window if you don't have the right supporting cast around Anthony Edwards.
The fascinating thing is with him being so young is as long as he doesn't leave, Minnesota will believe that they have a very big window because they now have made the conference finals in consecutive years with Cat 1 year and Randall the next. And I certainly... in a way, both years were kind of stunning if you think about where they were positioned heading into the season. And look, I think Ant can get there, but at times it's about the here and now. And right now, he is across the court from the league's MVP, who has a much better case for best player in the world, I think, than anyone is giving him credit for. But that may be neither here nor there. And again, for Ant, I think to what you said, look, you have a bad game, He's no-showing halves, quarters of games. And that happened in the series against Golden State, by the way. The beatdown of the LA Lakers is one thing, but that Warriors series, they were not as dominant as they should have been up against that team that was without Steph Curry. I think, most people would agree. Now, he came on as that series went on, which was great. He did not play well last year in the conference finals. I thought to get off on that same note was discouraging all in all. Adam, I know that you're in on the Pacers beating the Knicks, And was the expectation that they will, every single series they play, win a game that no one ever in NBA history has ever won before?
Did you see some? I'm sure you've seen the numbers floating across social media. Let me pull one of my favorites up that I was looking at last night here. It was just as I go to my Twitter here. So how about this? Teams trailing by 7+ points in the final 50 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime in the playoffs, dating back to the 1996-97 season. The record for those teams, 4 and 1,702. And you're going, 4. All right, well, the Pacers are in good company. No. The Pacers are the company because 3 of those 4 have happened these playoffs by Indiana. It's insane, man. No, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say I predicted what we saw last night. How could you? You know, the Knicks at a point very late in that game had like a 99 point whatever probability to win that thing. Yeah. But now we have seen it multiple times prior, obviously earlier on in the postseason, and now you get it to open things up at MSG. And look, I just think this Pacers team, this is the thing. And I know the Knicks have had a couple of these wins against the Celtics as well, but there is a resilience, there is a confidence that is unmatched in this Indiana squad, led obviously by Tyrese Halliburton, and it is so entertaining to watch.
And I'll add this, and I think we're going to keep Adam around, so we'll talk a little bit more about it all, but with the awful season from Spoelstra, best coach in the league title certainly up for grabs. I mean, Rick Carlisle certainly making a case. We'll be right back here, Game Time Decisions.
The Tigers, 31-17. Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 26-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where 2 of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, we are on Game Time Decisions. Couple of live updates for everybody. 5-2 Washington on Atlanta. 4-2 Brewers are up on the Pirates. Scoring started now for Cleveland with 2 early against Detroit. And that's where we are. Also, I don't know when did this game finish? This Toronto, much earlier ago. Blue Jays, Padres. Fever Dream is underway. I keep saying that, Dream Fever. 12-4 early for Atlanta. We're joined by Adam Kaufman here. We're talking a little basketball. Knicks Pacers. Indiana gets this unimaginable win. The thing is, you see wins like that, and you go, well, that's not a sustainable way of winning. But they've now done it 3 times, so it can't be a sustainable way of winning. But I think maybe the bigger lesson is they only need to do it once for it to swing a series. And the Bucks were kind of drawing dead regardless. But for the Cavs, if they held on and won game number 2, that series would have been 2-2. At one point, it would have been 2-1 if everything, if you don't butterfly effect the whole thing. The Pacers now have home court's theirs. If they win one of the next 2 games, they're up 2-1 in the series, so they'll probably be a bigger favorite after game 3 than they are right now. And I don't know how much the Knicks get off of the mat, Adam, at this moment for game 2 with what feels like their season on the line.
Well, listen, I'm a Celtics fan. You can butterfly effect anything, right? Like if the Celtics don't drop back-to-back 20-point leads against the Knicks in the previous round, they go up 2-0 at home, maybe split in New York. There's a possibility that, Jason Tatum never gets hurt, and all of a sudden we're talking about Boston, Indiana at this stage. So, like, you can sort of tie yourself up in knots with that stuff. But I do think, to your main point, this is now a real kind of emotional, mental, psychological gut check moment for New York in terms of whether or not you can overcome that. I mean, I have never in my life seen, and I wish it had been the game winner because it would have been that much more exhilarating, but that game tying shot by Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, when have you ever seen someone back rim it, ball goes straight up in the air like 8 feet and drops straight back down in a moment like that with what was on the line that, like you said, may have swung a series? So it just fuels the whole Pacers team of destiny thing and really turns you into a believer, man. But the reason that I was on Indiana coming into the series, regardless of heroics like that, is because I do just think there is a depth and a confidence, and obviously the team is completely healthy, to this Pacers team that, there are teams that, I think that you can learn a lot from previous playoff experience, right? Like last year, Indiana was swept out of the conference finals by Boston, but in the process, like if you go back and you actually look, all 4 of those games, and I know it was 4-0, but all 4 of those games were incredibly competitive, came down to the wire. Like it was a real Pacers never gave up. They were in them till the end, and that was largely without Halliburton, who was hurt. So coming into this postseason, after they were arguably the hottest team in the NBA the second half of the year, I was sitting there going, this is a team to be taken seriously. Like, let's not take this team lightly, because I think you learn from some of those lessons. You get your best player back healthy and willing facilitator or shooter. He'll just do whatever is asked of him in Halliburton, and he's going to go out there, and it's basically like, it doesn't have to be Halliburton versus Brunson. With the Knicks, it's Brunson. Occasionally you'll get the Towns games, and he was obviously very good statistically in that game last night. But if you're not getting enough out of Bridges or Anunoby or Hart, one of those guys, like Brunson can't go for 40 plus every game. It's just not going to happen. And if he doesn't, if you don't get at least 35 from him, I'm honestly not sure you win against this Indiana team that is going to be run and gun, keep the pace up, is not going to let you slow it down and go methodical on them, keep chasing overs, keep going for overs on Indy team totals. I think last night, maybe not the comeback, but in terms of the flow of the game leading up to that, I think that was very indicative of what we're going to see throughout this series.
And I think to try and frame it in a way I think you'll agree with, right? Brunson can go for 40, 50. That's not even the point of it all. The game from Cat last night, that's not who he has been so far in this postseason. I do not care that he scored 40 in a game that Miles Turner played in the regular season, because boy, did everybody keep talking about that with no additional context. As much as the Aaron Nesmith game will never happen again, it's not about Aaron Nesmith. It's about the Pacers seemingly always have a guy step up that you, if you're a real casual, did not know was on the team. If you don't think Andrew Nembhard is going to have a game where he makes 5 threes, you've not been watching the Indiana Pacers, because that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
Get a 20-point game out of Benedict Mathurin. It's going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I imagine Mathurin was incredibly jealous of all the Naismith opportunities that he was getting end of game. Let me ask you this before you get out of here. You mentioned Boston. I am just curious, What do you think? It's very tough. Do you have any idea of what that offseason is going to be for Boston?
Well, if I'm guessing, and that's all anyone can do at this stage, it's you're planning for 2026-27. You don't figure you're going to be a contender next year. Because if Jason Tatum, and he's the giant X factor, right? And they talked about the importance of him having that immediate surgery in New York and how much that can help with just the rehab and getting back on track. If there's a universe in which Jason Tatum does not miss all of next year, maybe returns in March, early April, he's around for the playoffs, it's a different conversation, obviously.
Yeah.
But if they assume he is out all of next year, which I think is the safest way to approach this thing, then at that point, you're thinking about in terms of ownership at that level, we want to get under the second apron. We want to limit our luxury tax penalties and draft pick penalties and all of that, which means, Kristaps Porzingis is an expiring contract. He could be on the trade market. Drew Holiday, I think, is almost certainly going to get traded, the reigning sixth man of the year. Al Horford, does he come back on the cheap or does he retire? He's a free agent. Can you even afford to keep guys like Luke Cornett or Sam Hauser? I don't think Jaylen Brown or Derek White are going to get traded, but I think you identify a very small core, and at that point, you're shedding some salary, bringing in some younger guys who you hope can help you win in 26-27. I'm guessing that's how it plays out.
It's going to be really interesting for Boston because perennial conference favorites. A lot of questions. Adam, appreciate it. He's going to be on In-Game Live next. We'll close out Game Time decisions after the break.
The Tigers, 31-17, Matt, on the season. They've got the best pitching in baseball, but don't look now. The Twins are now on their heels at 26-21.
The best hitters can't stay healthy. We obviously saw a situation last week where two of those guys got hurt on the same play. So that's the Twins, and I think Twins fans, I'm up in Twins country. Twins fans know that up here, and you're kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division, to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We close it out here on a Thursday night. Atlanta leading Indiana in the WNBA, 18-13 at the end of the opening quarter. Brittany Griner with 3 rebounds in that first quarter. Tracking. That is exactly what you are looking for. Very slow start for the Fever across the card. The starters for that basketball team checking in at a pretty abysmal 2 of 13. Caitlin Clark, 2 points, 1 assist. Again, right now you're getting 0 of 3 from Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, and that is just not good enough for the Fever, though it is early in that game. The Braves have pulled a couple back from Washington. Pittsburgh took one back off of Milwaukee. The Guardians extend a little on Detroit 3-0 right now. The Tigers are a really interesting team when you think about the big picture of the American League. And, do they trust the rotation that they have right now? Are they going to look to add to that? Behind Scooball situation, Olsen and Mize right now are on the IL. Jackson Jobe, they hope, could be really special. I think Detroit's really, really interesting. If you are looking to bet the second game of the WNBA slate tonight, Sky Liberty, I would actually lean Sky plus the points, but I'm not on it. I like Courtney Vandersloot over the points plus assists. I think Sabrina Ionescu should bounce back from beyond the arc. The big one tonight, of course, in the association, that is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, though not the only playoff game. Just a couple of minutes, you will see Carolina and Florida in-game live. We'll be covering both. The Canes certainly going to be closing as a favorite, up to -140, so some buying on Carolina. Total, though, now 5.5. Over is at +104. Still, the expectation is low-scoring hockey in Carolina. We'll see if that's the case. I think we could see a higher scoring game between OKC and Minnesota. You only got 202 points on the board in game number 1. A lot of that to do with the way Minnesota's offense just had nothing for you in the second half. But it was also a pretty slow start overall to that basketball game, so there could be some good live opportunities. My pregame opportunity, it's going to be Rudy Gobert over 14.5 points plus rebounds. At the time, that was -120. I wanted to try and give everybody an update here to see what the best of that number checks in at right now. Is this thing on the move up to 15.5? It is in some spots. Look, I'm not looking to win this thing by him landing exactly 15. He has a few times this season. You look at the regular season, 15 or more points plus rebounds in 62 of 72. While the postseason has not been great, and he missed it in the first 3 games against the Lakers, since that, he's not missed it in consecutive games. 2 straight victories against the Lakers, alternated wins against Golden State, starting in the win column. So it doesn't start here with a victory against OKC, but he should bounce back. I think he should play a lot more minutes tonight as well. One of the things that actually led to me being, wrong about the Lakers beating Minnesota is how willing Chris Finch has been to not play Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert in the regular season, 33 minutes a game. You look back to last season, 34 minutes a game. You look to the postseason, 34 minutes a game. Gobert's at 27.5. He's played more than 30 minutes once. Again, 27-24 against the Lakers. It's hard to imagine. I think you'll see Gobert tonight push up against that 30-minute threshold. I think a double-double is absolutely live if you want to try and get some plus money on the board for Gobert. And that's the most intriguing thing about his points plus rebounds is both of those categories you feel he should be doing a lot more. His postseason averages are so under what we saw from Rudy in the regular season. The rebounds are down by nearly 2 a game. The points are down by about almost 4 a game. This is just, here's the thing though, it is still overall, it adds up to more than 14.5 points plus rebounds. I think that's what we'll see here as Oklahoma City looks to take the 2-0 lead. I lean OKC's way on the side. I lean over in the game. I have not played either. I think it's a fun spot to jump in game, and I think that's a spot that many of you then can and will take. By the way, this weekend, Betting Above the Rim is on Saturday morning. Myself and Coach James Young are back Sunday night. Sunday night, Game 4, Knicks-Pacers. Either the Knicks will be looking to take a series lead, looking to tie the series, or looking to avoid a series sweep. Look forward to it. Best of luck tonight. In-game live again. That's next.